Hello everyone, it's Carrie from Inky Bee Journals and Ephemera. Welcome to my channel. If you are new here, welcome. And if you are returning, thank you so much. Today is another tutorial for beginners. And today I thought I would show you how to do the 2-hole stitch binding method. You may have heard this called a 2-hole pamphlet stitch, and if you have never attempted to bind any papers before with stitch binding, you will find this a very easy way to learn. So what we're going to make today is this little notebook. Now I've put lines in mine, and I'm going to do lines again because I have a lot of lined paper to use. The other things we will need is a piece of scrap paper. Now I am using a piece of scrapbook paper. This is cut to 8 inches by 8 inches, and when I fold this in half it will be big enough to make a little notebook this size. For the pages, I'm sourcing my lined pages from one of these lined notebooks, lined notepads. So I have a bunch of these and I'm trying to use them up. We will also need some type of cutting tools. Now, you can use a ruler and a cutting blade of sorts. I will be using my finger blade. You might also find a pair of regular scissors, an option for you. You could also use a type of X-Acto knife or some type of Stanley knife with a sliding blade. You might know this as a box cutter. You will also need a paper piercer. Now I have this one that I use most of the time, and it is very sharp at the tip, so be very careful using these. You will need a big eye needle and some type of thread or piece of string or something that you wish to bind your pages with. Now this is embroidery thread, and this is strong enough for me to do what I'm doing with it. You need something that has enough strength so that when you tug on it to tighten it, it's not going to fall apart on you and it's not going to tear your pages. You will also need some type of little clip so that you can clip your pages together to hold them while we're putting holes in and binding. So the first thing we need to do is make our signature. Now, I've pre-made these pages, cut them to size and folded them all. But I will show you quickly how I achieved this. So I've taken 10 pages from this notepad. You don't have to use 10 pages. I'm using 10 pages because this is a thin paper. It's thinner than 80 GSM, which is what my standard printer paper would be, but this feels thin enough that I can use a few extra pages. I have simply folded each piece in half so that the two long sides are together, instead of folding it the other way with the two short sides together. And the reason I didn't fold it this way is because if I fold it this way, my lines are going to be running horizontally, and I don't know about you, but I don't generally write between horizontal lines. Some countries might do that, and if that is what you normally do, then that folding this way is fine. But if you're like me and you normally write on horizontal lines, then fold your paper so that the two long sides are together. Line up your two long sides as evenly as you possibly can. Run your finger to the folded side and then use your thumb and your finger to run along that line to crease it down. Do that with all of your pages. Then simply cut your pages to whatever size you would like to see your notebook. To save on recording time, I have already done this, and so I have 10 cut pages here. Now we need to make our signature. So we hold our hand as though we are holding a taco. We take the first page and we place the folded edge down, and then we open it up, and then we repeat that. We take the folded edge, we place it down into the crease of the page before, and we open it up, and then we continue that with the rest of the pages. Fold down into the crease and then open the page. Fold down into the crease and open the page. And we continue that same process for all the remaining pages you have. Then I turn it this way. I use my fingers on either side to gently press those pages together evenly. And then I use my thumbs to gently press into this crease area to press all of those folded spines together. Then I close it into its normal signature shape, and I give it a tap, and I try and make sure all the pages across the top and across the bottom are all flush with each other. Now you will get a fanning on the right hand side, and that is normal. This is what happens when you place pages on top of each other, and when they're folded, all the pages before the top page will push all the new pages forward that little bit further, and that's what creates this fanning. It's perfectly normal, and we are actually going to trim that off so that it becomes flush with our book cover, so you won't notice it. Once we've got our signature put together, we can then work on making our cover. Now I'm using this scrapbook paper, and I'm going to turn it over to the blank side. If yours is double-sided, so that you've got pattern on both sides, just pick which side you want to be the front and which side you want to be the inside. Fold it in half, just like you do with your signature pages, and line the two edges up as straight and even as you possibly can. And then run your finger to the folded edge, run your thumb down and your finger up, and just crease that all the way along. Now you have your book cover. Now it's going to be longer than the pages are, but your pages are going to be longer. Sorry, your pages are going to be wider than your cover, but that's okay, because we'll cut the edge off here to be in line with the edge of your cover, and we'll cut the bottom of the cover to be in line with the bottom of your pages. So how we do that is you place the folded edge of your signature into the crease on the inside of your cover at the top. Turn it upside down like this and just give it a tap like we did before. And that should make sure that all of your pages and the top of your cover are flush. Now, all of our pages are sticking out the side of our cover, so we can cut those down to be in line with the edge of our cover here, and we're going to trim all of this excess off to be in line with the bottom of our signature. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a pencil and just mark at the edge of the paper there, the edge of the cover piece, and mark on your paper where that is. You can draw a line all the way down if you want to do that. I'm not going to stress too much about it because I know I can do it evenly when I use the grid mat. And then we're going to turn it this way, and we're going to do a mark on our scrapbook piece, on our cover piece, and we're going to make that mark in line with the bottom of our pages. So just like that. Then we can remove our signature and we can look at cutting this edge. Now I'm going to bring in my other cutting tool. Sorry, my cutting mat. And we are going to line the top edge of our signature up with one of the horizontal lines, and we're going to line up this line that we've made on the top of the paper edge with one of the vertical lines, and we're going to do this all at once so that we can get it nice and straight. Or as straight as we possibly can. Then if you want to, you can draw a line all the way down your paper because your lines on your grid should follow that line all the way through your paper and be followed on the grid below your paper. So you can draw yourself a line all the way if you like that. And then you can take your scissors and cut through those pieces, or you can use your ruler to line that line up with the edge of your ruler. Press down. You need to make sure you're keeping some pressure on your ruler so that when you're cutting along the edge, you're not letting your ruler slip. Then you need to get your craft knife, and you need to put the tip of your craft knife against the edge of your ruler, and you're going to slowly and carefully draw it all the way down your paper line to the bottom. You must always keep your blade against your ruler to keep this straight. Do it slowly and carefully so that you don't let it slip and run the risk of cutting your fingers. It will take you a number of passes to get through your papers, and how many passes it will take will depend on how thick your pages are and how thick your signature is. It will also depend on how sharp your blade is. Now I know my blade is getting a little bit dull. It's enough to do this job now, but I think I will be having to swap out this blade for a new blade before much longer. Just remove any pages that have come loose out of your way. And if you have a blade that has a cap, please do put it back on each time when you're not using it, for both your safety of not hurting yourself and also to protect your blade. You can discard all of these cut off pieces. If you make your own paper and you keep these pages, these little pieces to make your recycled paper with, then that's fine. Otherwise, please put them in your recycle bin. Now we've cut our pages. They're all flush down this side as well as across the top and across the bottom. Now we are going to cut down our cover piece. So we can move this signature out the way, and we can open our piece here, and we can draw a line all the way down this piece as well, in the same way we did to cut the signature. We can line the top of our paper up with a horizontal line and the line on our cover piece with a vertical line. And once we've done that, we can get our ruler and line that up with the edge of the ruler where your little mark on your paper is, which should be in line with the vertical line at the top and should also be in line with the vertical line at the bottom. Then you can use your pencil and you can draw a line all the way down there. And again, you can use your scissors to cut along that line, or you can use your blade and ruler. And I could do it this way, but I'm actually going to quickly show you because my hands are a bit sore today due to my arthritis. So I'm going to show you this. Now, this is my paper trimmer, and I will explain in a little bit more detail in another video how to use this. But for now, we're just going to quickly use this to cut down here. So just lining it up at the top, lining this line that we have to follow with the guide wire that runs down the center here. And then we're just going to put a little bit of pressure on our blade and run the blade along our paper. And that will separate our two pieces. Now don't get rid of this because this is big enough that we can use this to make something else another time. Using the paper trimmer is just a little bit easier on my hands these days. Now we can fold this again and we can bring back in our signature and place our signature inside our cover. And again, give it a nice little tap. And everything is pretty much aligned. So the next thing we need to do is put some holes in our spine area, and then we can use our thread and needle to bind. So open your notebook and use some little clips, and I'm just using these little mini bulldog clips just to hold our pages together. Like that. Now, where to put these holes is not rocket science. Really, all you need to do is eyeball it. You can measure how far in you want to do it if you want to, but it's not vital to do it that way. I'm just going to use my pencil once again, and I'm just going to come in all about 3 lines in and put a dot right in the centre, and come in another 3 lines or so and put another dot in the centre. And that way I know that they are roughly the same distance apart. Pretty darn close. The next thing we need to do is punch our holes. So this is where we're going to use our hole punch. We just put the tip of the awl, and that's spelt AWL. It's known as a pokey tool, but it is otherwise known as a paper piercer. If you want to look that up, I will leave that just there if you want to take a photo and look that up. So we're just going to put the tip of the awl right where that dot is that you've put in the spine, and we are going to watch where we put our fingers, because ask me how I know how much these hurt if you put it through your finger. So try not to hurt yourself. But once you have the tip of it in the dot on the inside of your pages, press it until it pokes through to the outside. Then draw it back, and you will have made your little hole there on the inside of your paper. Do the same thing with the dot at the other end, watching where your fingers are. Give it a little press, and it's come through the other side, and then you can pull it out again. Now we have our 2 binding holes. The next thing we need to do is get our thread ready. Now, how much thread you will use? Well, I generally try to take 2.5 times the height of your book. So the height of the book is the length from one end to the other of your crease line. So 1, 2, and I usually do roughly half after that. So about there. Cut your thread. Now I'm using embroidery thread. You do not have to use embroidery thread. You can use ribbon, you can use cord, you can use wax thread, you can use a number of different things. What you need to look for is something that is strong enough that when you give it a tug like this, it's not going to fall apart. It's not going to tear on you. So we are using a big eye needle, and hopefully you can see this. It has a large eye at the top here. This is a regular needle, so it is sharp at the tip. It does not need to be sharp. You can get binding kits that have blunt end needles, which is probably better for you to use. I just have this one available, so that's what I'm going to use. So we're just going to thread our needle. Just like that. And leave yourself a little bit of a tail. We do not need to put a knot in this other end. and I'll show you why in just a moment. Now, if you take your needle from the inside of your signature and put it through the top hole, just like that, to the outside, and pull it through, but leave yourself a tail on this side, on the inside of your book. Then take the needle off this end on the outside. Thread the tail from the inside properly, not wonky like I did. And again, leave yourself a little bit of a tail. And then what you need to do is get your needle and go through from the inside of your signature through the hole at the bottom of your signature to the outside and pull through. And then you can take your needle off your thread. Now, if you turn your book this way, you now have both ends of your thread on the outside of your notebook. And then from here, all you need to do is make a few knots. Now, it's up to you if you decide to do your knot in the center. You can do your knot towards the top hole or closer towards the bottom hole. I tend to like doing them towards the top. So just like you do with your shoelaces, cross one over the other, go underneath, and you have this crisscross here. Now I want to put my knot at the top here. So I'm just going to take the piece in my left hand and slide it up towards the top. Put my finger down on there, and I will put my other finger on there because I'm more coordinated that way, and just tie yourself another knot. Right there. And then I will often do a second knot over the top of that knot. Now at this point you can choose to cut the excess of your thread off if you wish, or you can, if you want to, make a little bow in whatever way you normally do your bows. So mine looks a bit weird because of the threads being loose. So I'll do that again. And that looks okay. It's good enough. And then just cut the excess thread off if you have any. You can take your binding clips off, and there you have completed your little notebook using a 2-hole binding stitch or 2-hole pamphlet stitch. And in the center, when we find it, you have one long stitch in the center, which is tight enough to hold this little booklet together. Now I call these one and done booklets because once you've finished with them, you can do whatever you like with them after that. You can hang on to them and reuse them somehow, or you can take them apart and put them in the recycle bin or reuse the pieces to make homemade recycled paper or whatever you like. But you have completed your first attempt at stitch binding, and in the future I can show you a 3-hole binding stitch, which is another easy one to learn. I will leave the video there for now. If you liked this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please consider hitting that subscribe button and the notification bell so that you get notified whenever I upload new content. And I will be hopefully back in another few days with another tutorial, providing I haven't lost my voice. Until then, I hope you have a lovely day, and I will see you later. Bye.